All right, let's talk AWS CloudFront. Now, if you're gearing up for your Solutions Architect exam, you have definitely come to the right place. We're going to break down exactly what you need to know about Amazon's massive global content delivery network. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, the basics. We'll build the foundation. Then we'll trace a request from start to finish to see how it all works. After that, we'll open up the Architect's Toolkit to check out the cool features, we'll even dive into computing at the edge, and then we'll wrap it all up by looking at the bigger picture to see how CloudFront plays with other AWS services.
So, let's set the scene here. You've got users all over the world, right? Sydney, London, São Paulo, but your server, it's probably stuck in one single place. So what happens when someone on the other side of the planet tries to access your site? That data has to travel halfway around the world. That creates a delay, or what we call latency. This right here, this is the fundamental problem that a content delivery network, a CDN, is built to solve. It's all about beating the speed of light, or at least the limits of geography.
Okay, section 1. Let's start from square one and build this thing from the ground up. And I gotta tell you, these next few concepts, they are absolutely non-negotiable for the exam. You have to know this stuff cold.
So what even is a content delivery network? You know, the easiest way to think about it is like a global network of super fast warehouses for your website's content, your images, videos, all that stuff. Instead of shipping everything from one central factory, you store copies in these warehouses all over the world. That way, when a user wants something, it gets delivered from the warehouse closest to them. The result is just boom, super fast delivery and really low latency.
And that brings us to AWS CloudFront. This is Amazon's own powerful take on a CDN, and as you can probably imagine, it is massive and incredibly fast. But here's a key point, especially for the exam. It's not just for JPEGs and CSS files, no way. CloudFront is built to accelerate everything. We're talking data, videos, APIs, even entire applications. It's a cornerstone of the entire AWS global network.
Okay, let's break down the components. Component number 1, and you absolutely have to know this one, is the origin. Just think of the origin as the home base. It's the one true source for all your content. This could be an S3 bucket. It could be an EC2 instance running a web server. Heck, it could even be your own server sitting in an office somewhere. It's simply the source of truth.
All right, next up, edge locations. You'll also hear these called POPs, which is short for points of presence. And these are those warehouses we were just talking about. AWS has literally hundreds of these data centers scattered across the globe in all the major cities. Their one and only job is to hold a cached copy of your content. So whether your user is in Tokyo or London, your stuff is right there, just around the corner, ready to be delivered instantly.
And the third core component, the glue that holds this whole thing together, is the distribution. The distribution is basically the brain of the operation. It's your main configuration file in CloudFront. This is where you tell CloudFront, okay, this S3 bucket is my origin, and this is how I want you to behave. You set up all the rules for caching, for security, everything. It's what connects your home base to that massive global network of edge location.
Okay, so we've got the three main players: origin, edge location, and distribution. Now let's put them into motion. We're going to follow the journey of a single user request, from their browser all the way to your content and back again. And listen, this exact flow is a classic exam question, so this is a really important part to understand.
Okay, check this out. Let's follow the data. A user in London wants to see a picture on your website. What happens? Well, first, some DNS magic happens, and the request gets sent to the closest edge location, probably one right there in London. That edge location looks in its local storage, its cache, for that picture. If it's there, that's a cache hit. Bam! The picture is sent back immediately, super fast. But what if it's not there? Well, that's a cache miss. The edge location then has to go all the way back to your origin server to grab it. The origin sends the file back, the edge location saves a copy for the next person in London, and then sends it to our original user.
So, the cache hit. This is what we live for. This is the dream scenario. It means the content was already there, at the edge, as close as humanly possible to the user. No long-distance data travel required. That right there is how you get that incredible lightning-fast experience.
Now, a cache miss, it sounds like a failure, doesn't it? But it's not. It's actually a really smart part of the system. Sure, it's a little bit slower for that very first person in a region who asks for a file, but what they're really doing is pulling that content out to the edge. They're warming up the cache. So every single person who comes after them in that area gets a blazing fast cache hit. That first user basically takes one for the team.
But wait, it gets even cleverer.
AWS added another layer to make this whole process more efficient, called regional edge caches. Think of it like this. The individual edge locations are like small, local convenience stores. The regional edge caches are the big regional distribution centers. They're much larger, so they can hold more stuff, especially the less popular content. So if a local edge location has a miss, it first checks with its bigger regional sibling before going all the way back to the main origin. This takes a ton of pressure off your origin server.
All right, we've got the data flow down. Now let's get into the fun part, the architect's toolkit. These are the powerful features you'll use to lock things down and crank up the performance. And you can bet you're going to see questions about these on the exam.
Okay, let's talk security, and this is a huge one for the exam. Scenario: your origin is an S3 bucket. What do? A really common mistake is to just make the S3 bucket public. Please don't do that. That means anyone on the internet can just bypass CloudFront and go straight to your files. It's a massive security hole. The right way, the modern best practice, is using something called Origin Access Control, or OAC. It's simple. You tell your S3 bucket, hey, you are only allowed to talk to my specific CloudFront distribution, nobody else. It completely locks the bucket down and forces everyone through the front door, which is exactly what you want.
And for protecting your application itself, CloudFront works hand in hand with AWS WAF, the Web Application Firewall. Think of WAF as a security guard standing at the front door of every single edge location. You can give this guard a list of rules, like don't let anyone in from this list of shady IP addresses, or block any requests that look like a SQL injection attack. This means all that malicious traffic gets stopped right at the edge, way before it ever gets a chance to even sniff your actual application.
You've also got some really powerful tools for managing performance and, well, making sure things don't break. For instance, say you just updated a critical file and you need everyone to see the new version right now. You don't have to wait for the old one to time out in the cache. You can issue a cache invalidation to just forcibly kick the old file out of every cache everywhere. And for high availability, you can set up an origin group. This is where you have a primary origin and a backup. If the primary goes down for any reason, CloudFront just automatically flips over to the secondary. It's seamless failover.
Okay, time to level up. Let's talk about one of the coolest parts of CloudFront, computing at the edge. This is where you can actually run your own code inside those edge locations. This lets you intercept and change requests and responses as they're flying through the network. Now, there are two ways to do this: CloudFront Functions and Lambda at Edge. And I'll be honest, this is where a lot of people get tripped up on the exam, so let's make this crystal clear.
All right, here's the deal. For the exam, you need to know which tool to use for which job. Think of CloudFront Functions as a scalpel. They are purpose-built for super simple, super fast, high-volume tasks. We're talking URL rewrites, adding a request header, stuff that has to happen in less than a millisecond. Lambda at Edge, on the other hand, is your Swiss Army knife. It's for the heavier, more complex jobs. Things like resizing images on the fly, running complex A/B testing logic, or anything that needs more processing power. It's way more powerful, but it's also a bit slower and costs more.
Okay, last section. Let's pull back and look at the whole landscape. Because being a good architect isn't just about knowing what one service does, it's about knowing when to use it, and just as importantly, when not to. So where does CloudFront fit in the massive world of AWS services?
And this brings us to another classic exam showdown: CloudFront versus Global Accelerator. People get these two confused all the time. Here is the absolute simplest way to remember the difference. CloudFront is about the what. It caches your content at the edge. Global Accelerator is about the how. It optimizes the network path to your application. So think of it this way. CloudFront moves your files closer to the user. Global Accelerator is like giving the user a private, high-speed freeway on the AWS backbone to get to your server. One is for HTTP content, the other is for any TCP or UDP network connection. So when you put it all together, you see CloudFront showing up everywhere. These are the architectural patterns you'll see again and again. Hosting a static website on S3 and making it fly? That's CloudFront. Speeding up your API calls? CloudFront. Building that first wall of defense with WAF? Yep, CloudFront again. It really is a fundamental building block for any serious global application on AWS.
And there you have it. That's our deep dive into AWS CloudFront. We've covered the what, the why, and the how. We've looked at the core pieces, followed the data, and explored the key decisions you'll need to make as an architect. But the story doesn't end here. Edge computing is getting more and more powerful every single day. So the real question I want to leave you with is this: what are you going to build with it? What's the next piece of your application that you can push out to the edge to get it closer to your users and create something truly amazing?